the Cajun Turnbuckle Podcast. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another live edition of the Cajun Turnbuckle Podcast right here on Dirty South Entertainment. We are back. It's Marcus and Rich. What's going on?
What's up, man? How you doing? It's a nice, clear Saturday after all the crazy weather we've had this past week. I know you guys had a bunch out your way, too.
Been good. Shockingly, that so-called tropical storm didn't even make landfall where it was destined to hit. Like, it was supposed to hit, like, in between Galveston and Lake Charles, and it actually rode across the coastline of the Gulf Coast and actually made landfall in between New Orleans and Mississippi, so we dodged a bullet, even though it was a minor little storm that had severe flood warning.
Yeah, my wife has her best friend lives in Lafayette, and she was saying that they didn't get anything out of all this, and we're like, wow, okay. That works.
We had a scattered shower like in the middle of the day. It was supposed to make landfall like at 6 p.m. that night. As soon as I got off, it was still sunny, still nice. And we're like, what's going on here? I pull up the radar and it shifted across the Gulf Coast heading eastbound. And it was making its way towards around New Orleans, Mississippi. And a lot of West Mississippi, Central and East Central and Northeast Louisiana had all the flash flood warning instead. So hopefully that wraps up our hurricane season, even though it just started. But they say with all the Sahara dust that blew in the Gulf could prevent storms from happening this year, and it was going to be a weak season this year. And I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah, I had heard something about that too. The little inside baseball here. The gentleman that owns the radio stations that I work for, one in Albany, Georgia, and one in Enterprise, Alabama, used to be the chief meteorologist for a TV station in Fort Myers, Florida. Mm-hmm. So he still keeps up on all that stuff. And he was saying the same thing. He said, that from what he was seeing in the projections and that this could be a little lighter hurricane season than in the past. But like he also said, you never know.
Yeah, anything can happen. But it's already hot enough to make a storm happen. I mean, we're having record-breaking temperatures. It feels like August, and it's only June 20th. Heat index got to 112 yesterday where I was at. And I know you're thinking, oh, that's nothing. We get like 118, 120 in Texas, but I'm not gonna quote you on that.
No. And actually, our heat index was it Thursday or yesterday was in that same 110, 112 range. But like today, our high is 87. Tomorrow it's going to be 90. We're going to be back in the 80s almost all the next week. We've had a couple of days that were spiked, but all in all, so far so good. Knock on wood. It's been relatively okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, not been okay. Before we get to our Legend of Wrestling 101 topic, basically any wrestling in general. I mean, except maybe for the fact that sounds laughable. AEW might be doing a little better than every other promotion here, but even though they got a lot of shoes to fill, they're trying to be the number one company. But I only tuned into Dynamite because it was in Houston, and I wanted to see who their partners were going to be going into Forbidden Door and whatnot in that tag match. But WWE, I didn't watch SmackDown last night. I went to saw Toy Story 5, but I kept up with it on X. They just need to change the pay-per-view name. It's Night of Champions, but not every title's on the line. You should have just called it King and Queen of the Ring, but luckily we're getting 6 matches now with 4 championship matches. NXT, like I said, hadn't been the same since they called up like Ricky Saints and Joe Hendry and Obafemi and those guys. TNA is probably on the verge of going out of business with Carlos Silva running that company down the drain with like Sami Callihan leaving the company, Tommy Dreamer leaving the company. Someone else. There was someone else.
Tessa Blanchard.
Tessa Blanchard.
Tessa Blanchard left.
that was probably the only one people were happy about. But it was like Tommy Dreamer leaving, Sammy Callahan leaving, and so forth. Like, what the hell's going on with what is Carlos doing? Like, I'm a little worried about Slammiversary. They already got the cards stacked and lined up, and I'm excited for it. But I don't know. Wrestling in a whole right now has been bad, and the only wrestling I'm enjoying is classic stuff. Like, I'm rewatching WWE stuff from
Mhm.
2000 and 2006 right now just to keep me occupied.
Well, and I mean, we may need to go into this another episode, but if you look at depth of roster, okay,
Mm-hmm.
AEW has a deeper roster than WWE does right now. If you look at the top, I mean, if you looked at the top people, the people that could be main event players in each company, there's a lot more of them in AEW than there is at WWE. I'd say maybe even 50% more because you've got guys like, Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega and guys like that are in the undercard. They're in the mid card matches and stuff. They're not in the main event scene, at the moment. And those are prime players. Swerve Strickland, same way. Guys like that. If those guys were in WWE right now, to be perfectly honest, I think they would probably be thrust to the forefront immediately simply because um, you're right. NXT is not quite the same since, um, the call ups. But I saw a milk carton the other day with Joe Hendry's face on it because nobody's seen Joe Hendry in a few weeks. So not real sure what's going on with that whole deal. Oba has been tremendous. Javon Evans has been tremendous. Ricky has been really good. Putting him with Carmelo Hayes, I thought was a tremendous idea. Whether that was a Nick Aldis thing, whether that was a Michael Hayes thing, whether it was whoever, that's a perfect combination. I don't know about you, but I think that's a perfect combination. And then, of course, putting them with Trick, they have the familiarity from NXT and that kind of deal. So, they know how to work the big man, small man setup.
Yeah. We'll see where it goes from there. But I'll go ahead and just jump this. You wanted to do another wrestler this week, kind of have a little bit of our states. Like, this guy was actually born in my state, which kind of shocks me. I always thought he was Texas breed from since birth, but nah, I've been in Louisiana, I think, since he was about 6 or 7 years old and moved to Houston. But we're going to talk none other than Booker T, the two-time Hall of Famer, the five-time WCW champion, or you call him six-time world champion, one half of one of the most dominant tag teams in WCW with Harlem Heat. But he's also been known to others, like everyone will always know him as either Booker T or King Booker, or just Booker, or GI Bro. But also, people didn't know he was also known back then as Cole or even Black Snow. And I'll let you start with him
Mhm.
on his early days because I think he got into the wrestling business right around when I was born in like the late 80s.
He did. Robert Booker T.O. Huffman, hence where you get Booker T. Um, Six-time world champion. Like you said, born in Louisiana, but was raised in Houston. Um, and he lost both of his parents when he was 14. And it's public knowledge. He's even brought this up that he served some time in prison for armed robbery
Mm-hmm.
and used that time to really refocus himself. And for those folks that don't remember, there people remember Booker T, but you got to remember his brother Stevie Ray, who got him into wrestling. Who, as big as Booker was size wise, Stevie Ray was 6'5", 270, built like a linebacker, and was very good in the wrestling ring until he damaged his shoulder really bad and never recovered from it. But they started as a tag team called the Ebony Experience, like you mentioned, in 1989 in global wrestling. They trained under Scott Casey, Cowboy Scott Casey, and an old WWE guy named Ivan Putski, Polish Power Ivan Putski. And at the same time that they were there was Putski's son, Scott, who had just graduated from TCU, played football at TCU, and he was in wrestling for quite a while under, of course, the name Scott Putski. But that's where the Ebony experience started. And you could definitely see these guys had something. Now, Global at that time, that was whenever Global was on ESPN every day. I'm sure you may have seen some of that stuff when you came home from school and that kind of deal. But when you had, this was the post cursor of the whole world class breakdown, after Super Clash with Kerry and Lawler and all that kind of stuff. Global was the next iteration of that. And these guys came in and became an automatic audience draw. Didn't spend a lot of time there. They were there for just a little while, before they went to WCW. And another name from the past that is a prominent name from the past, named Robert Fuller, who his family, the Welch and Fuller families, we could do a month's worth of episodes on them. But they were very prominent in the Southeast, in Florida, in Carolinas, in Georgia, in Alabama, Mississippi. But Robert Fuller was, he adopted this Kentucky Colonel type of character, and he brought them in very controversially in the beginning. If he tried doing it in 2026, he would get completely run off the rails out of the country, going by the name of Robert Parker. And he brought them in as Harlem Heat. He brought them in as Cole and Kane. And they actually came out for their first set of matches with chains on, like slave chains on.
Oh,
Stuff like that lasted about 2 weeks.
damn.
And they ended up getting rid of that. They went by their regular names of Booker T and Stevie Ray. But they became very quickly a prominent part of WCW. They won 11 World Tag Team Championships, wrestling everybody from the Nasty Boys to the Steiners to Arn Anderson and Buckhouse Buck. But Jimmy Golden, who was Buckhouse Buck, was Robert Fuller's cousin. And they had a group called the Stud Stable that was Arn, Buckhouse Buck, Steve Austin, Rick Rude for a hot minute, Sherry Martel for a hot minute. But they had an organization called the Stud Stable that also kicked off really kicked off the career of another guy named Ming, who came in as Robert Parker's bodyguard. A lot of people know of Ming from his WWE time, but he was Haku, but he really came into prominence as Robert Parker's bodyguard. A lot of the reason why I wanted to do Booker T, and we'll get into this a little later on, is because we're getting to the point of getting close to King of the Ring. And one of the most important things he did, and one of the most not memorable things that he did, was his reign as king. And we'll get into that here in a little while with WWE. But once they did the tag championships all those times, and that was in like a 4-year period, Stevie Ray gets hurt, blows his shoulder completely out, has to have complete reconstruction surgery on his shoulder, is never going to be the same. And he made a couple of spot appearances over the next 10 or 12 years, but you could tell his arm wasn't what it used to be. So Booker T becomes a singles competitor. spends the rest of his time in WCW as a singles competitor. And during that time, starts out, wins the TV championship several times. Okay, well, I mean, anybody that followed WCW knows that's kind of the starting point. If you're going to win championships, you start out as the TV champion and kind of build from there, see how it goes. Some guys like an Alex Wright, it stops there. Some guys like a Stone Cold Steve or a stunning Steve Austin when he was in WCW, it progresses. Never got to the world title, but he did hold the U.S. title. Then, of course, you have like a Ricky Steamboat or somebody, or Tully, well, not Tully Blanchard, but a Ric Flair, who held the TV title and worked his way through and became world champion. So he wins his first world title in July of 2000 at Bash at the Beach. Ends up winning it a total of 5 times, including, and this is a little trivia question for you, who was in the final match on WCW Monday Nitro?
With Booker, Scott Steiner.
Exactly. And Booker won the title, the WCW championship, the big gold belt. For those of you that may remember the really big faced gold belt that Ric Flair had. That's the belt you have behind you. That's the belt that the WCW champion wore all the way to the end. So Booker won the title from Steiner that night for his 5th WCW championship.
Actually, that was his fourth because
actually, you're right, because he did win it once while in WWE.
Yeah. Now I'll let you finish, and I'm gonna have to go way back to when you started your story, but I'll let you finish.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of giving everybody a kind of an overview of what we're going to get into.
Okay.
And then we can always go back and hit parts. But yeah, he was the WCW champion when they came in, when WCW was purchased by Vince McMahon. And then they had the invasion storyline. WCW guys invading WWE. The only guy from WCW that didn't make the transition over, Sting. Sting was not a WWE guy at that point in time. But Booker T got involved with a really big feud with Stone Cold Steve Austin. He did it occasionally in WCW, but he really brought the Spinaroonie into prominence. Those of you breakdancing guys would know what a Spinaroonie is. Kind of tough to explain audio wise, and neither me or you is in any kind of shape to be trying to do one of those. But at the same time,
I used to be able to do it when I was younger and smaller. I used to be able to do it, but I can't anymore.
Yeah, I was never even at that point. But from 01 to 02, he wins the WCW championship again, forms a tag team with Goldust, who was Dustin Rhodes. And now Dustin Rhodes and Booker T had worked together in WCW a little bit, so they had a little bit of familiarity there. They even won the World Tag Team Championships there. In 03, Booker goes to SmackDown, wins the U.S. Championship. See the ladder of progression here. Wins the WWE U.S. Championship, and he's in feuds with Cena and JBL while he's the bad guy. Now, in 2006 is where he starts one of his most well-known runs. He wins the King of the Ring and becomes King Booker. And he, along with his wife, Queen Sharmell, do a ton of really, really cool, fun things. And during that time as well, in July of 2006, he beats Rey Mysterio at the Great American Bash to win his first WWE title. So he's got the title, holds on to it for a while. October 2007 rolls around. Booker bolts, leaves WWE for TNA Wrestling. And he shows up at the Genesis pay-per-view in 07. By 08, he forms the Main Event Mafia, which was one of the more popular factions. It was trying to be a 2008 version of the Four Horsemen. It was Kurt Angle, Kevin Nash, Sting, Booker. Ric Flair was part of it for a little while. They brought in AJ Styles for a little while. Frankie Kazarian was in it for a little while. But all in all, it was the older guys, the legendary guys who had been in main events, hence the name.
Mm-hmm.
So then he decides in 2010 he's going to start his own promotion. Created his own promotion in Houston along with a wrestling school called Reality of Wrestling. Probably one of the most prominent names to come out of there currently is Roxanne Perez, who is part of the Judgment Day. She's probably the most recent prominent graduate of his school, but there have been a number of them. Comes back to WWE in 2011 as a competitor in the Royal Rumble. And then he shifts into a color commentary role for a little while, becomes GM of SmackDown in 2012. And in 2013, he gets inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame as a singles competitor. Very important there that they put him in as a singles competitor. He then is a big part of all the broadcasts and all that kind of stuff, kickoff shows and the big events and all that kind of stuff. Kind of that talking head type deal. 2023, he gets inducted a second time. One of only a few guys to be inducted twice. This time with his brother Stevie Ray as Harlem Heat. A lot of people think that should have been done a long time before it was. But 2023, they go in as Harlem Heat. And of course, currently he is color commentator on NXT and is also a part of WWE's LFG, Legends and Future Greats. I don't know if you've watched any of that show. It's an awful show to me.
I watched the first season, but remember, he had a little taste before that. He once was a Tough Enough coach in 2011 when Austin hosted the show. It was him, Trish, and Stone Cold, and probably every so often you catch Bill DeMott. But yeah, that was when Tough Enough was just a reality show more than just a competitional show.
Right. And that was, from the way he started to now, it's tremendous to see, what he did in his career, especially coming from the way that he was with his life, losing both of his parents at 14 and going to prison and all that. I mean, how many people have we seen or have we known of that have had that happen and they just go completely south and their life either ends very quickly or they're constantly in the system or all that kind of deal. With the help of his brother, Booker pulled himself out of it and has become a fantastic example for a lot of people. Married, and actually his wife Charmel is a former Nitro girl. Part of that dance team that WCW had on Nitro every Monday night. So it kind of gives us an overview. We can get into more specifics about different things as we're talking throughout the day, but I wanted to give everybody kind of a thumbnail sketch of what we're going to be getting into.
So that time when they were in GWF, Global Wrestling, was that before or after Western Wrestling Alliance?
I gotta double check. I think it may have overlapped. Because let me look at that because it did overlap because that was the promotion that Ivan Putski owned.
Okay.
And because Putski he wasn't an owner in Global, but he was like one of the head trainers. So those things overlapped each other.
Okay. Speaking of flashbacks, like I'm pretty sure you got it yesterday. You saw that video I tagged you, that old advertisement of Mid South from 1981 in the Superdome.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you watched that show, but that was crazy how they advertised back then. It was like a news station.
Yeah. Yeah, the ads that if you ever listen to Cornette's podcast, Jim Cornette, he talks a lot of times about when he was in Mid South and when he was in Dallas, and even when he was in Georgia with the Midnight Express, that they would have days where they would just do nothing but local promos.
Oh, nice.
And you would come in and you would have the list of where you were going to be that particular week. And you were going to maybe let's use global as the example. Okay. You're going to be in Dallas on Monday. You're going to be in Arlington on Tuesday. You're going to be in Waco on Thursday. You're going to be in Lubbock on Thursday, that kind of deal. And you cut a promo for each one of those, and they would run those in the local markets where the show was leading into that week's show, wherever it was going to be. So, they would cut 4, 5, 6, 7 promos, and they would all be basically the same. They would just talk about a different location.
Nice. Um, but yeah, during their times feuding with tag teams, like I think I've seen more Harlem Heat Nasty Boy matches just as much as we saw RVD Jerry Lynn matches.
To me, he is. He is. He's not on the Mount Rushmore by any stretch, but he is in that list of legends. Um,
And I think he's
I
one of the
got
best
to
I think that he's one of the best acquisitions WWE got as well from WCW.
True, but and you also got to look at the fact that in the waning years of WCW, Booker T and Sting carried the company. Booker T, Sting, Scott Steiner, Jeff Jarrett. Those 4 guys carried that locker room. Um, but you were talking about you know Booker in the very beginning. You look at what he is like in these pictures here. Okay, picture this guy about 40 pounds lighter. You know, the Harlem Heat made the Nasty Boys because the Nasty Boys really weren't doing much. They were just a couple of big, heavy set guys that would come in there and beat up people. Harlem Heat showed that they could do things in the ring, that they weren't just they weren't 2 of Kevin Owens for that matter. Okay. For current wrestling fans, the Nasty Boys were bigger versions of Kevin Owens. They didn't have that muscular build. They were just regular built guys, but they had something and they could talk. You're right. They probably had 100 matches, just like Jerry Lynn and RVD, just like Johnny B. Bad and DDP. You're right. You're 100% right.
They also had some good feuds with Ming and Barbarian. Weren't they Pride and Powerful? Like they had
They
some good
were.
feuds with them as well.
Yeah. And, I was talking about Ming with the stud stable there. People just don't realize how good. If you get the chance, you got to watch. Don't watch King Haku. No, watch Ming. And you'll see just how much of a badass this guy was, and you'll kind of understand where some of that lineage comes into the bloodline today. Um, because Ming is a part of that bloodline, along with Rikishi and the Wild Samoans and all that good, and Yokozuna and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. Now, with Stevie's injury. Yeah, like I remember was injured at one point, but I guess by the time he came back, when they put Booker on that singles run, was that when they kind of put Stevie Ray in the NWO after his injury?
Yeah, yeah. They figured, okay, we'll put him in the NWO where he doesn't have to be a prominent piece. Obviously, before that happened, he turned on Booker. He turns on Booker in a tag match, and they tried seeing what would happen. It just wasn't gonna work. Not for the fact that those two guys couldn't have had great matches, because they could have, but it was just a case that shoulder was just so bad that he couldn't do any of the power stuff, and he couldn't move it. He didn't have the mobility in it either.
Now, I remember them as Harlem Heat. Like I always remember the ring gear that almost looks similar like Bam Bam Bigelow's, like the flames on the ring gear, like that are like orange, yellow, purple, red, almost like kind of like on Bam Bam's tights. Didn't keep up with the names, but I remembered them as Harlem Heat. But then when they split, that's when I like kind of really remembered their names really well. Like Stevie Ray was the one in the NWO. Booker was the one that was going solo that could spin on his head and had the most beautiful scissors kick I can ever see. But it was funny, like that was a unique name. Like I never heard of a wrestling name like just Booker T. It sounded catchy, but I thought maybe, he got it from like Booker T. Washington or something. That guy. But yeah. I remember I got an answer wrong on a test once, because when I just saw on the question, who is Booker T. Washington, that first person that came to my mind was the wrestler. So I put, he wrestles for WCW, and they said incorrect. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I was like, this is the guy, Booker. I was like, this ain't the guy on paper, but they're like, no. I figured that's where he got the name from. But I was young and dumb back then.
Well, no, he got the name obviously from his first name and his middle name, or his two middle names, with Booker T.O. So yeah, I mean, sometimes it just works out that way, and of course, you got Booker T. Washington is one of the most important figures in particularly African American history, but in history itself. So.
Yeah, he was like he was an influential educator, author. I think he founded Tuskegee University, and he also had some. He had something that involved coal mines and salt furnaces.
He did, and he's also the creator of one of the most important things in all of our lives: peanut butter.
I thought that was Carver. I thought that was George Washington Carver.
From what I have read, he was the one that had the initial recipe, I guess it was, for the stuff. That's what I've read.
Okay.
But there's three sides to every story.
Or maybe it was, unless Carver's was like just peanuts in general, or the peanut butter salt. I mean, it was something that involved peanuts and soybeans and sweet potatoes and all that. Like maybe he came up with the crop, the soil conversation and all that. Like I know Carver was an agricultural sensation, but
yeah, and in the South, man, I tell you, they man, it was really crazy, because a lot of things that were coming out of the South, you got to remember when Booker T. Washington and George Washington Carver and a lot of those guys were prominently, involved with things, they weren't that far out from the Civil War.
Yeah.
So, they're still thinking, man, these guys don't. Now, this was their thinking then. They don't know anything, all that kind of stuff. Wrong.
Yeah. Now they did bring Harlem Heat back. I remember at one point in '99, because I remember when we didn't have satellite TV at the time, but my aunt did, and she let us for once a month go watch a pay-per-view at our house, which it was mainly the WWF pay-per-views because that's when we got back in. But I remember around the summer of 99, we were still watching both shows. And I remember they brought Harlem Heat back together, and my dad wanted to watch them team one more time. He wanted to watch their tag match with Bam Bam and Canyon at Road Wild, and we rented both pay-per-views that month. We rented Road. He paid for Road Wild because he wanted to watch Booker and Stevie back together that one particular match, and they won the tag titles back, which was happy for them. Then I remember they went like in a feud with the West Texas Rednecks for one point, but they had a huge fit with Misfits in Action. They also had a feud with the Filthy Animals. And then Harlem Heat 2000, yeah, it kind of went downfall from there, especially when the new blood started coming in. But it was nice to see them at least gave it a shot before they put Booker back as a singles guy and strapped the rocket on him to be a 4-time world champion and all that going into 2000.
Yeah, and from everything that I've read and heard, in particular in shoot interviews with Booker T, Stevie Ray had no desire in coming back. And he kind of talked him into it. Stevie was happy with what he was doing. He had a career. And, he had conceded the fact that he was done. And Booker talked him into, he wanted to have that last run with his brother kind of thing, which I get, but you're right. It was nice that they tried it. But at the same time, WCW at that point was just, literally throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing if anything would stick. So, they were trying pretty much anything. And they had, when you sit and you look at the opportunities that WCW had, not just in Booker T, but in a ton of other guys that they completely fumbled the ball on. It's no wonder that they got. It's amazing they made it till 2001 is what it is.
Yeah, and it was nice that they finally gave him his flowers and made him world champion. But like by 2000, I think there were like what they said 15 title changes in 6 to 8 weeks or something like that. And Booker had 3 of those title reigns in between that. Yeah, his first reign was well deserved at a controversial Bash at the Beach 2000, and that first reign probably was like made him a transitional because I remember Nash took it from him, and then he got it back from Kevin Nash in a cage match at Fall Brawl 2000, and then was a transitional champion again. He lost it to, I don't remember who had it after Booker T's second reign. I don't remember if it was either like Vince Russo or was it Scott Steiner or was it Jeff Jarrett. It was either Jeff Jarrett or Vince Russo. That's when they had that San Francisco 49er match, which I felt like was the most dumbest gimmick match I've ever seen Vince Russo create, besides Judy Bagwell on a forklift or Viagra on a pole or First Blood DNA match and all that bullshit. To where he was a transitional champion again and then lost it to Scott Steiner at Mayhem. And then it was like right when they closed the doors on Nitro, that was his most decent reign he ever had, was when he won it on the final Nitro, and he was a double champ. By the way, he was only the second black man to win the WCW World Title ever. It was Ron Simmons and Booker T. They were the only 2 black men to ever held that belt before they went out of business. And like I said, he won that 5th one when he got to WWE. I'm going to get to in a bit. But when the Invasion storyline angle came, like, yeah, when I was a kid, this was like the best thing I've ever seen. Like, we're getting this Invasion angle. When I go back and look at it now, it sounds corny. It's like the top stars of the WWF versus basically the new blood. Like, we didn't get Goldberg versus Stone Cold. We didn't get DX versus NWO. We didn't get Undertaker Sting. We didn't get Rock and Bret Hart. Nothing like that. We got like Natural Born Thrillers versus the APA or DDP Undertaker, which was great. Rock, I'm going to get to that in a bit. Oh my God, fantasy match I'm going to bring up. That happened in reality. But when Booker T arrived at King of the Ring 2001, me and my dad came out the edge of our seat. Like, oh my God, he's in the WWF. And he was still the champion. And it it was empty in my mind. Like, that's right. When last Nitro, he won the belt, and that when you close your doors on one company, you forget most of the memories. JR brought it up. Yeah, he's the WCW champion, and I'm like, the WCW champ's attacking the WWF champ. At the time, Stone Cold made a huge impact that put him in between that time, a little feud with Kurt Angle where Kurt did take the belt from him, but 5 days later, Booker won it back to become a 5-time WCW champion. And then it became reality going into SummerSlam. My guy from the WWF versus a guy I truly admired and inspired in WCW, battle in the main event of a WWF pay-per-view for WCW's title. Instant classic. I gave it 5 stars, and The Rock beat Booker T that night. I love that match so much. It's an instant classic I can watch over and over with Booker T and The Rock. Like, that was a fantasy match that came to reality.
Right. And, he definitely, Booker went from an absolute cesspool of talent. And I hate to say that about those guys, but let's think about it. A cesspool of talent to WWE, which was absolutely full of talent. I mean, you look at the 2000 roster because the sale took place in early 2001. Your big names in WCW were, you had a washed up Arn Anderson, Bobby Eaton, who was on the back end of his career, Buff Bagwell, who was high as a kite 3/4 of the time, Bret Hart, who was just about ready to end his stuff because he was constantly hurt. The wrestler who shall not be named. And Kurt Hennig, way past his prime, back injuries like crazy. Dustin Rhodes, post Goldust, Dustin Rhodes. I'm sorry, pre-Goldust, Dustin Rhodes. A very washed up Hulk Hogan, a very washed up Jim Duggan, Goldberg, Jeff Jarrett. This may be one of the biggest things that we can tell you is one of the main guys in the office was Johnny Ace. Larry Zbyszko, a washed up Macho Man. That 70s guy, Mike Awesome. I mean, you go down that list and you just sit there and go, seriously? What? And they're burying guys like Rey Mysterio and Shane Helms and a young guy that would change his name when he went to WWE named Steven Regal. Yeah. And it was amazing. Like you say, Booker walked in. I'm sure he walked in and just went, wow. Because I'm sure in his mind, he had all these matches rolling through his head of guys that he could, have really good matches with, whether it was, Stone Cold or Rock or Hunter or whoever, yeah, you're right. I mean, and Rock and Booker T, that was almost made for, an absolute match you made in heaven.
Yeah. And then, okay, so like they start him off hot. You're going to put him feuding with the 3 biggest guys. We'll make it 4 if you want to count The Undertaker. He had feuds with Rock, Angle, Undertaker, and even Stone Cold Steve Austin. But from 2002, 2003, they kind of made him a laughing stock. Like his short cup of coffee in the NWO to having these hilarious skits with Goldust trying to become tag team champions, which it didn't happen until the end of 2002. Maybe like at one point in 2003, I think he had like one reign as Intercontinental Champion, but it was a short reign. But when the draft came, they drafted him to SmackDown, and that's when he worked his way back to the top, because when SmackDown was probably the best place for him to be, because when he got drafted to SmackDown, he had he started having good feuds again. He had feuds with Undertaker again. He had feuds with Eddie Guerrero. He had feuds with John Cena. He captured tag team gold. He captured the United States Championship. To getting about '05 was when he was back at that mid card. I mean, '04 he was at the mid card level again, but like he was getting back to the top in '05 when he was feuding with Benoit for the U.S. title in that best of 7 series. But when '06 came, that's when they just put the rocket back on him and become King of the Ring, winning it against Lashley, to winning the world title for a 6th time against Rey Mysterio as King Booker, and then putting him in great feuds with Batista. And then he going into '07, I mean, and not having a faction, but he formed a little team with Finley, King's Court, whatnot. He even had William Regal as his right hand man. He did like a little thing with Finley and Regal in '06, and then till his final run in WWE in '07, they before he left to go, they put him in one last banger with Triple H. But TNA, I mean, I remembered his debut in TNA. I remember that pay-per-view he teamed up with Kurt. I was able to. They should have made him a world champion in TNA. I always said, like, I went to that Victory Road pay-per-view in '08 when he fought Samoa Joe. They should have put the belt on Booker T, but they didn't. They tried again at Hard Justice, the 6-side Steel with Weapons. I think the only reign I think he held the tag titles once when he was in the Main Event Mafia, and a mid-card title that he was the inaugural champion. I think it started as the Legends Championship, then it was the Television Championship, then it was the Global Championship. But I remember he was the inaugural TNA Legends or TV champion, whatever it was. And his career was short till he came back in 2011. But I mean, his TNA run was mid. They could have. It felt like WCW all over again, minus the 4 world title reigns. But they should have did more with him in TNA. But I'll let you catch up from there.
Well, but the thing you got to remember too is with the TNA run, the end of his WCW run. And then think about the talent that he was walking into in TNA. Angle, who he had worked with in WWE. AJ Styles.
Robert
Samoa Joe. Bobby Roode.
James
Storm, right. I mean, he's walking into a bunch of talent. A bunch of guys that have been pushed and he can help make better. Which he did. I mean, he the matches, if you go back and watch the matches he had with AJ and with Angle and with Joe and with Rude, and the list goes on and on. I mean, he had really, they didn't put the big strap on him for whatever reason. But at that point in time, him and Angle and Sting were doing the one thing that WCW and really WWE both didn't do. They were helping get the young talent over. They were helping make the younger talent better. Hard to believe that was 20 years ago when AJ Styles was, 7 years in the business?
Something like that.
And he's tearing the world apart. Robert Roode. People don't remember Beer Money. Bobby Roode and James Storm was one of the greatest tag teams in the history of. I would love to have seen. It would have been phenomenal. Can you imagine a generational crossover with the Midnight Express versus Beer Money?
I was at Victory Road where they teamed up for the first time against LAX in that Fans Revenge Lumberjack match.
Mm-hmm.
And I was lucky enough to see at a TNA house show once Beer Money Inc. versus the Motor City Machine Guns.
That's another couple of guys. Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, man, that tag team was fantastic. And I'm glad that they put the title on Sabin for a little while and that kind of thing. Yeah. But Beer Money was my guys. And anybody that's listened to any of the stuff that we've done, or that I've done previously knows my thoughts on AJ Styles. Um, Far and away the second favorite wrestler of my life, behind Kerry Von Erich. But when it came to beer money, man, those were my guys. And I got a chance to actually meet James Storm. Uh, Gosh, it's probably been 10 or 12 years ago now at a show. And we just talked about the whole, transition from him and Chris Harris to him and Bobby Roode. Um, if Chris Harris would have just stayed in TNA, the America's Most Wanted would probably have gone down as one of the greatest tag teams in the history of wrestling, period. But he went to WWE, and completely crapped out. Um, but super, the I don't know about you, but the first time I saw James Storm come cruising down in that motorized cooler scooter,
I laughed, but
I about fell off my chair when I saw that.
I used to love his beer drinking championship. I said, man, Stone Cold would be proud of that. But when I just saw him come out, I'm like, oh, we got a TNA Stone Cold here, except he's got longer hair and he wears a cowboy hat, but he's from Tennessee, not Texas. But he's drinking beer bottles where Austin was drinking beer cans. But I was like, okay, it is what it is. I was okay with it.
And if you remember when they split up, they had fantastic matches. Bobby Roode against James Storm.
Oh yeah,
but
lockdown.
But Booker helped those guys too.
Yeah,
I don't think he was necessarily in TNA to be the top dog. I think he was in TNA to be happy with what he was doing, and of course to get a chance to work with Kurt Angle and get a chance to work with Sting. So, that's just me.
And then whoever, now I forgot that, when he got into WWE, he was a tag team, but whoever he worked with as a tag team in WWE, whether if it was short-lived or not, he had some good, I forgot during that Invasion angle, he once won the tag titles with Test, whenever, but I was thinking of DDP and Canyon when they fought Kane and Undertaker for both belts, but he did win the tag titles once with Test, but I would always remember in his tag team runs in WWE, it was either Goldust or Rob Van Dam, mainly Goldust. Because that stuff they did in 2002 was very fun, kind of like the shit with Danhausen and Kit Wilson and Miz. That's how that funny level of entertainment was Booker T and Goldust all throughout 2002, trying to get Booker T to leave the NWO, and they form a team, and it took them to the end of the year to finally get the belts for them to hold it for 4 weeks before they lost them to Regal and Storm. But King Booker, people say he's the greatest king of the ring of all time. I'll give him that. When he got big gold wrapped around his waist with that crown and that cape and that scepter on, he looks like $1 million. Bringing his wife Charmel, who also was a former pageant queen, she was Miss Black America 2005, made it more relevant to him being the king. But there's a but or two. To make him a heel, you got to do something that'll annoy the shit out of you. Her over and over and over, oh hell, King, it would get annoying. But it was the fake. It was the fake royal accent that made me dislike the character even more.
Oh,
but it was hilarious.
He took that king role and just took off with it. It was so good. And, he was that king that you wanted to slap. And, after having, in the past where you had Viscera as king of the ring, and, you had these kings of the ring that made them just jokes, and then have a legit guy win the belt. Yeah, the King Booker thing was a joke, but you knew that Booker was the real deal. He could play around all he wanted, but when he got into the ring, you knew he could go. Um, and that's hard to do. It really is hard to do when you
And
sit there and to not only be that good at creating the character, but be that good in the ring, no matter who he went into the ring with,
what made
and
it
then become
funny,
champion.
like when it comes to King of the Ring gimmicks, I've seen 3 different King of the Rings tell their opponents kiss something different. Like your typical King of the Ring, whether if it could be Harley Race or Jerry the King Lawler or somebody, kiss my royal feet. And then you got a guy like Billy Gunn, kiss my royal ass. Then you got Booker
Yeah.
T, kiss my ring. And he had this big,
Yep.
massive 5-carat ring on his ring finger, not on his married hand, on his other one. And he would make his opponents kiss his ring instead of something else. And I'm like, where I need a ring like that. I mean, let me go find Paul Wall and them in Houston to get me some rocks like that in my ring.
Yeah. Yeah, that to me was far and away the best work that Booker T did, was that whole run as King Booker. And of course you got to say it the right way. King Booker.
Now, yeah, the actual cape that he won with the red cape that had like the, I don't know if you want to call it the Dalmatian print or the cow print, like a top around the collar, that he always wore. That's an iconic cape of his, but it was that black one he wore at SummerSlam 07. I wish he'd have worn more often. That black cape that went with his ring gear when he fought Triple H at SummerSlam 07 was to die for. And I'm like, why didn't he wear this more often? He always wore that other one most of his career, but and that was like right when he got out the door to go to TNA, and I guess that was like a proper like farewell like ring gear to come out in. Was that all black crown and cape and everything? It looked legit, and I'm like, it was black and gold. It was more like Saints colors, and I'm like, why didn't he wear this more often? But I guess it was like a proper farewell. You're gonna wear legitimate ring gear like that before he left to go to TNA. But you said you had some. I've done this in the past in podcasting where we've done like top 5 this or favorite this or best this and that. And you said you had some involving Booker T, which I'm willing to share mine as well.
Yeah, I figured, one of the things that I've always liked doing is whenever you put, and they don't necessarily have to be in any type of order, but, the top 5 moments of Booker T, good, bad, or indifferent. And I know you and I are going to have some that are the same. I think, in fact, I know you and I have at least one that is exactly the same.
Just tell me something. Just give me a question and I'll tell you.
Well, I can guarantee we both have on the list the grocery store deal with Steve Austin.
If we're talking funniest moments with Booker T, I would put that on the very top of the list. I would have maybe like a top. I'm trying to think top 5, but I can tell you 3 of the funniest Booker T moments I can name for. You know what? I can maybe give you 5 hands down. Number 1, of course, was the grocery store brawl with Stone Cold on SmackDown. I forgot what the name of it was somewhere in Bakersfield, California. I think it was called the Leapfrog. There's something with frog in it. I'm looking it up.
I'm trying to think what that would have been.
Green Frog Market in Bakersfield, California, where they had the iconic grocery store brawl. My second favorite moment, what happened the following week. So following that SmackDown where he beat him up in the grocery store, WWE came to Louisiana the week before Christmas. I was at the Raw in Lafayette. I didn't go to the SmackDown in New Orleans. Now, all this happened after Booker T cost Stone Cold the undisputed title. That's why he got his ass beat in a grocery store. And it became one of the most legendary, funniest moments ever. The Raw came. That was also the iconic WWE meme where Austin was at McMahon's face saying, I drank a beer. I drank another beer. 3 beers, 4 beers. Mm-hmm. That happened in the Cajun Dome. Well, Booker T was outside the Cajun Dome. You could see the Cajun Dome in the far background on a freezing cold December night in Lafayette. He took it was either a pipe or a crowbar, and he shattered Austin's window of his truck and a side window and got in a car and drove away to hide from Austin. He went hide in a Catholic church. That was also where he was playing bingo, and he stole the old lady's bingo card. And he went hide in a confessional, and people were going in and out to confess their sins, thinking he's a priest in there until Austin called him in the confessional. Second funniest moment ever, and I was at that Raw to witness all that. Anything with Goldust from 2002, but I would say the one where he caught Goldust dressed like Darth Vader in the locker room, and he took the toy lightsaber is like Obi Book Kenobi, like I'm gonna destroy the dark side of the NWO and all that shit. It was great.
Right.
The one where he got caught in the hotel with the woman by Goldust and Booker T's ass was hanging out. I was at Judgment Day 02. I covered that. And if I had to throw one more, I'm trying to think of something funny he did maybe in WCW or even TNA, but most of his funny stuff came from WWE. Oh, I got one more. He took a stink face from Rikishi one night on SmackDown, and he threw up on Michael Cole in the announce table.
Yeah.
That's mine.
Well, I mean, my top 5 Booker T moments are kind of a mix. Yes, I've got the grocery store deal on there. To me, winning the world title in the last match on the last episode of Monday Nitro, it is right there. The Goldust stuff, especially that first time they were together when they ran into The Rock, and Goldust was doing the whole Tourette's thing. Not making fun of Tourette's, but the way that, again, if that was done today, they would get cancel culture would go absolutely bananas. But that whole setup with him and Goldust, period, but particularly when Goldust was doing the Tourette's thing because he had gotten hit in the head, was absolutely fantastic. Like I said earlier, King Booker was his best work he ever did. And then there was and I'm trying to remember the exact date because this lives in infamy. Hold on just a second, because I got to get the date on this.
While you look that up, I can just quickly tell you 2 bad moments of Booker I didn't like. Anything that involved G.I. Bro, especially in 2000, and his 03 run with Triple H at WrestleMania. Like, they pushed this guy to try and beat Triple H, and they made that match just complete garbage and made him look embarrassing for Triple H to squash him at WrestleMania 19.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it's April 6, 1977. Let's take you back in the time machine to April 6, 1997. Booker T is making a promo against Hulk Hogan with Stevie Ray and Sherry Martel standing there. And Booker T said, he says, "Hulk Hogan, we coming for you." And he meant to say sucker. And he dropped the N-word and knew it the second he did it. You could see on his face. Live promo, so it wasn't a thing that they could edit. Live promo, if I remember right, it was a Clash of the Champions or something like that. And when he did that, you could see his face turn green. But that's another one of those moments of Booker T that it sticks. Good, bad, or indifferent, it sticks.
Shit.
So those were my 5.
Survivor Series 05 with Vince talking to Cena and what he said, and walked past Booker T and Sharmell, and we're like, oh my God, did that just happen? Mm-hmm. And of course, his signature, tell me he didn't just say that. Like, just came for a wrong thing at the right time. But yeah, me and Gene always gets caught in some of the craziest moments. That was probably just as funny as the whole put that cigarette out in 1992.
Yep. So, but yeah, I mean, when you sit there and you think about it, Booker T is one of the most, I guess, intriguing characters in the history of wrestling.
Yeah. But biggest moment ever. I mean, even though I did not like how it ended when he won the big gold belt under WWE against Ray, in my opinion, Great American Bash '06 was probably the worst I've ever seen. Some say '04 was the worst, or even '05. I thought '06 Bash was complete shit. But it had Booker T finally get that world title, and he had a decent run with it for like 4 or 5 months before he lost it to Batista.
To me, his worst stuff was a bunch of that crap with Russo and Jarrett and those guys in WCW. I mean,
True.
even worse than the stuff that he had to do in WWE. Again, at least it was in the ring with a quality opponent, with, you know, the guys performing. When he was doing a lot of that stuff in WCW, I mean, granted, when he was doing the stuff with Jeff Jarrett, Jarrett was okay, but he wasn't
Yeah.
that great. The Kevin Nash stuff, the just some of the stuff they put him through, and then of course GI Bro, but that was way prior. But just some of that stuff that they did to him at the end of WCW, just the only word to think of is embarrassment. For the company, for him, and for all parties involved.
Yeah. But I got nothing else on Booker T. But I got something I want
No,
to
I don't
I
either.
want to bring. I got something I want to bring up. We can wrap up with. I need to get your take on this. I'm pretty sure you can come up with this quickly. But first off, it's Father's Day weekend. First off, happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to all
Appreciate
the
you
other
too.
dads out there,
Yeah.
especially in the Driving to the Top family. I know most of the guys in our little group are dads, like Adam, Jeremy, Rav, Ken, Joe. I'm pretty sure I'm missing Jason. I mean, happy Father's Day to all them guys. Um, Happy Father's Day to my dad, my grandpa too, my brother-in-laws. Also, if you lost your dad recently, or if you were a father who lost a child, I'll send my prayers and condolences to y'all. I don't think we're doing much for Father's Day. I mean, y'all got anything planned?
Well, I know we usually do Sunday lunch or dinner with the family. I think it's going to be dinner tomorrow.
Okay.
So the kids will be over. Three of the four. I still have a daughter in Italy. It's in the Air Force. Um, so she's still over there for a little while. And then my son-in-law will be over, and our grandson will be over. Um, Outside of that, not a clue. I kind of I leave it for the element of surprise, I guess, for them.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure exactly what all they've got in the works. But yeah, I lost my dad 5 years ago on my birthday in August. So it's kind of it. And the crazy part is, I don't know if I've ever told you about this. I think I've mentioned it on a broadcast before. I don't know if I told you this. Another one of those things with my wife and I. We both lost our dads on our 50th birthday.
Oh man, that's horrific, and that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really kind of crazy, but um, so I know, hopefully, you know, but
Well,
it'll be 5 years, August 3rd, it'll be 5 years.
well,
Yeah, I mean,
this
I had a great role model is all I can tell you.
Yeah, my dad introduced me to wrestling too. He was the one who got me into wrestling and all my sports stuff. So I give him for that. But this is what I was getting to here. I heard this on the radio, and you've been on the radio most of your
A
career.
little bit.
Probably still are today. Um,
Yeah.
I need to before I reveal this list, I need from you give me
Hmm.
your top 5 TV dads.
Oh, I knew that was coming. Um, no particular order. Carl Winslow from Family Matters.
Okay.
Ward Cleaver from Leave It to Beaver.
I've heard that one quite often.
Wow. Danny Tanner from Full House.
Thank you. Someone finally said Danny Tanner.
Jock Ewing from Dallas.
Never heard of that one.
JR and Bobby's dad, Jock Ewing.
I don't think I've watched that show. Okay, but one more, and then I'm gonna.
Dallas was a huge, huge show in the 80s. And then that's 4, right?
Yeah, you got one more.
5. Knowing how they developed the character and how they've developed it in and around the show and the other shows, George Cooper from The Big Bang Theory and Young Sheldon.
Okay. Well, I heard this on the radio, and I don't remember if it was. I think it was Woody. I don't know if you're familiar with this radio station. I do catch a rock radio station out of Texas, Big Dog 106. I used to listen to the Woody and Wilcox show every morning. They're based out of Beaumont. It was either Woody and Wilcox or it was someone on another station. I think it was Woody and Wilcox. They did their top 5 TV dads. And when I heard this list, I mean, let me just say Danny Tanner didn't make the list. And I'm like, how the hell do you not? Before I reveal mine, I want you to hear theirs. Number 5, they put Dan Connor from Roseanne.
Okay. I can go with that.
Number 4 was Carl Winslow from Family Matters. Number 3 was Mike Brady from the Brady Bunch.
Okay.
Number 2 was Andy Taylor from the Andy Griffith Show.
Okay.
But this is what got me, and I'm not hating the show or whatever, but man, how does this guy go over Danny Tanner? Number 1 was Al Bundy. Great show, by the way. Scored 4 touchdowns in a single game at Polk High, and he's a shoe salesman with a smoking hot wife that looks like my English teacher. But
one of my dad's favorite shows.
Oh, I loved Married with Children. That was a fucking classic.
Yeah. That was one of my dad's favorite shows.
And Ed O'Neill's still going strong in like Modern Family and stuff, but I always remembered him in Little Giants.
The dad he played in Modern Family.
So he had 2 great dad roles, basically.
Yeah, you could put Ed O'Neill on there twice. Yeah, there's a couple of them I wouldn't they aren't even close to my top 5. Al Bundy would, I mean, if we were going 10, Al Bundy probably would have been on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a couple of those that you mentioned that I was.
I'm gonna close out with my top 5, and then we're gonna wrap this up.
Sure.
Now let me rephrase real quick. Someone in my top 5 is gonna be a cartoon.
Okay, because see, I thought about a cartoon one, but I didn't do it.
And I got an honorable mention. I'll do last, but I put at number 5. I put Philip Banks from Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
Number 4, I did Carl Winslow from Family Matters. I wanted to put him a little higher, but I mean, I put him no higher than 4. Number 3, I put Fred Sanford from Sanford and Son.
Okay.
Number 2, I put Peter Griffin from Family Guy.
Okay, I got you.
And number 1, I did Danny Tanner from Full House. Honorable mention, I put Tony Soprano.
Yeah. That is a good one. I
Now,
would probably say
he'd have been in the top 10. If I'd have did a top 10, he'd have been up there. But
if I was going honorable mention, it would be Frank Reagan from Blue Bloods.
Ooh, another one, another good one.
Yeah,
or what about Larry from Three's Company?
Yeah, I don't know.
No,
probably not.
Probably not. This came out my head, but
probably not. But yeah, I mean, Frank Reagan is just, and I really considered putting him in my top 5, but I couldn't figure out who to take out. So yeah, if we're going honorable mention, Frank Reagan.
Yeah. Well, that will wrap this up. But we're gonna put the rest Legends of Wrestling 101 to the side next week because, oh man, I thought we got 4 predictions to do next week, and from the start of the intro to the finish, we're gonna not waste any time. But I forgot about NXT, but we have 4 predictions to do. I need to know. I think 2 on Saturday and 2 on Sunday. I hope that it's not 1 Saturday and 3 Sunday, but we got WWE Night of Champions, NXT's Great American Bash, Forbidden Door, and TNA Slammiversary to predict next Saturday.
Oh.
I know Forbidden Door and Slammiversary are the same day. I don't remember what day the Bash is, but it would be crazy.
The Night of Champions is Saturday at noon.
Yep, because they're in Saudi. But the Great American Bash.
Great American Bash, I want to say, is Tuesday. No, it's Sunday. It's Sunday the 28th.
Oh my God! There's 3 shows on Sunday.
Yeah.
Well,
but there's one major difference.
One's gonna be super early.
The Great American Bash is on free TV.
Yeah.
It's on the CW.
Because I'm either gonna pay for one. No way in hell I'm paying $100 for 2 shows. Someone's not getting watched, and it's like, do I want to watch Slammiversary or do I want to watch Forbidden Door? It's a flip a coin right now. Slammiversary probably cheaper, but
without disclosing anything in our picks or anything like that, does that 12-man tag cage match really mean anything to you?
It should have been blood and guts. Like, how are you going to fit 12 guys in one ring? It should have been 2 rings.
A 12-man cage match, a 12-man tag team match, period, doesn't. I mean, you're right. I mean, there's one ring. There's gonna, like you're sitting there. There's going to be one ref, which you may as well have no refs. That's one that, I mean, there's a lot of stuff Tony Khan has done recently that I've thought has been great. This is not one of them.
As long as it don't main event the show, I'm hoping either Kenny Omega and Zack Sabre Jr. main event or Will Ospreay and Swerve main event.
I would hope it's Ospreay and Swerve, but I would start the show with Omega and Sabre. Considering this the finals of the men's Owen Cup, I would probably finish with Swerve and Ospreay.
They're probably the hottest story right now. They're like the hottest feud right now, especially that promo battle they did in Houston.
Right. And, if you do get Ospreay and MJF in Wembley,
I think we're going to get that, and we're going to get Mercedes Moné and Thekla in Wembley as well. And then I'll save the rest for next. I'll save the rest for next week. I don't watch NXT. The only thing I remember was, Dark State broke up or something, like Deion Lennox is fighting Shaquan, and Tony D'Angelo is fighting whatever his name is now. He's not evil. He's got another name in WWE now.
Yeah, I'll think of it in a minute. And you know who he's married to? They just got married recently.
Io Sky?
Io Sky.
Yep. But I don't remember if Bash is going to be like on Peacock or ES or Netflix. I know they got their deal with CW, but unless it's on the CW app.
It probably won't. I mean, it'll be on the CW app. It probably won't be on Peacock or any of that. But yeah, it's from what they were showing, it's 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock our time, Central Time.
I wonder if it's gonna. I wonder if you watch it on the CW. Do I have? Is it gonna be live, or I have to wait the following day on the app like your NXT weekly shows?
See, now that my friend is a really good question. Let me look.
Is that the case? I'll wait till the next day or two to watch it because I guess I don't watch NXT.
Nakaru is the name you were looking for.
Nakaru.
Yeah, that's Evil's WWE name.
Yeah.
Then Kendall Gray is fighting Lola Vice for the women's title.
I was wondering who was fighting Lola. I didn't recognize the face. It was Kendall Gray.
Yeah, okay. Which should be decent. I don't see anything about the app, although I wonder because CW has started putting live stuff on their app. Like they carry the O'Reilly series for stock car racing.
I know it's a free app. Like you can watch TV on it for free. You ain't got to pay a subscription.
Right, but it used to be that they wouldn't carry the race live. They would replay it, but they wouldn't carry the race live. Now they do. And I'm just wondering if that's the case with this, but I don't, let's see on CW app.
While you look that up.
Yeah, from the looks of this, yeah, it says in the United States, you can stream the event live on the CW app. 7 Eastern, 6 Central. So 6 Central on the 28th. So you do have an hour lag on because if I remember right, Great American Bash is only a 2-hour show.
Yeah, they'll probably have like 5 matches, 5 or 6 the most.
Right, but so if you're going to watch Forbidden Door, that starts at 7 Central, right? 8 Eastern, 7 Central.
I'm gonna watch the buy-in at least to see what kind of 18-man tag matches we get or this and that, just to get me to say, do I really want to order this pay-per-view or not? But
I got the card right here. Actually, so far they've got 3 matches scheduled so far. Tony D'Angelo and Nakaru, Lola Vice and Kendall Gray, Miles Bourne versus Tavian Heights. That's the only 3 that they have.
I might wait till the next day because
there's got to be a tag match in.
Forbidden Door, I know, has like I think 7 or 8 matches already, and Slammiversary's got 7 for sure. But I'm definitely going to watch Slammiversary. But do I want to multitask and watch both? Do I want to spend $100 and watch both? We'll see. But other than that,
you only have 6 matches, sir,
for Forbidden Door.
The 12-man fiasco.
Yeah.
Owen Hart men's tournament final. Owen Hart women's tournament final. The IWGP Global Heavyweight title. Shota Umino against Pac. AEW World Tag title. Copeland and Cage against the Dogs. And then Kenny Omega and Zack Sabre.
I'm going to probably watch them both, but
I just wonder how many more they're going to add Wednesday.
Well, yeah,
they'll probably add 3 or 4 more on Wednesday.
Yeah, and I'm going to be at a baseball game, so, I mean, I won't be watching Dynamite, so.
Yeah, I'll keep you in the loop.
Well, that'll wrap up this show. You can find me at DirtySouthENT_ on X. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Ciampa and Jericho there, too. You can get me, Big Rich 8371 on Twitter or just on Facebook. My name, Rich Richardson. Either way, hit me up. Doing a lot of different stuff. In fact, I got a baseball show tonight. We'll be doing and baseball show on Monday. We got open mic Tuesday. Steel City Sports Talk that I do with Adam on Wednesday. So lots of different stuff going on all through the network.
Exactly. Thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll see y'all next time.
Happy Father's Day.